guys, welcome back to the I Did It First podcast. I'm Riley.
I'm Anna.
And we are picking up pretty much exactly where we left off from last week's episode. So if you haven't listened to that, this is like the only time you need to listen to an episode in chronological order.
Yes, it will help for sure.
We talked about, and we are going to talk about my water polo experience, and we're picking up from sophomore year with my head coach for water polo. And at this point, things are, I would say, still good. Like, I'm still very close with the girls. I'm playing all the time. As far as I'm aware, there is nothing about to happen, nothing that's going to turn to shit. The year starts with a homecoming party at our house. Like, we host the whole team of girls, their parents. We're all hanging out. Again, super close with these girls. I'm doing everything on and off the pool deck with them.
So at this point, you need to explain too. So girls' season is
in the winter, yeah, and boys is in the fall. So this is when we start school. This is our off season.
This is your off season. So you're having off season practices, which is also club. And there are little incidents here and there, like where, just to lead some background with that, is where, you know, he'd leave the practice early, a bunch of kids. I mean, someone could drown, not that you would, but, you know, like anything could happen. So I'd made little comments or schedule changes when you have working families, like
he would send an email an hour before practice and say, just kidding, practice has gotten pushed back.
Or it got moved to like Cypress Pool. And I was like, there's no way we can't make that happen. Or like, you know, it just things that really affect a family that started to kind of add up. And I didn't think I was being vocal, but I ended up saying stuff here and there about that. And that's normal, I think.
Yeah, I do too. Do you want to go in?
So at the homecoming party, everything was going great because we'd also built relationships with these parents. So I felt like, wow, this is so great.
Sure, I know.
I mean, the party was great. We had a chocolate fondue fountain.
You made like every girl an emergency kit.
home. Yeah, it was perfect. And so you guys are all lining up outside. And one of the dads, we were lined up and he like comes up behind me.
Wait, pause. It wasn't just one of the dads. It was the dad of the senior athlete on the girls team, who he was also the head of the aquatic board at that time.
At the time, right. And we'll explain the nature of the daughter's relationship with the coach later. But he just comes up behind me and just goes, well, maybe if Riley would shut her fucking mouth, things would go better. And I was like, I was so floored at that point, because I know the only thing you'd really commented on, remember, is like weight training.
Yes.
Because things would happen during weight training where girls would get hurt. It was just seemed like it was led and very like all over the place. There was no system. There really seemed to follow. You know, you've got a bunch of girls that have never trained weights. Let's be honest.
That's what I said in the previous episode, is his practices were just like himself. They were a reflection of him. They were manic. They were unorganized. And while we were on off season, we were weight training, and instead of like obviously building up to a certain like weight or like it's a progression, he would load our weights onto like the squat rack or bench press, like whatever we were doing. He would just go like up,
or if he got mad, he would just load up more weight. Like if someone said something, he'd have a moment. And then obviously that's not great.
No. So there was one time during off season where I was using the squat rack, and he's like a cartoon, like just adding weight on. I'm like, what the and I'm like, I literally can't do this. And he's like yelling at me to do it. And I end up hurting my lower back, like bad, like to where I'm going to like PT, and I'm having to now condition my lower back, and water polo in general is a low impact sport because it's in the water. So the fact that I got hurt out of the water already was like, this is crazy. So during off season, we're also practicing in the pool, not as much, but probably like every other day. So the next pool practice we like get out, we come to huddle, and he like tells everyone to sit down, and he's standing up like talking, and I'm like, well, this is weird. Like, we can all stand. Like the fact that you have to try and assert yourself over us and like hover as you talk and address us is just weird. So I ask him, I'm like, can I please stand? It hurts my lower back, to get down on the floor. Instead, he makes everyone stand and makes me sit and says, we will not proceed until Riley sits. At this point, I'm like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, what? And at this point, I was still playing with varsity, and I'm like throwing myself on the ground because I'm like, well, everyone's going to be upset with me. Like, I'm the, like, okay. So I'm sitting and I go home and I like tell my parents this story, and instead of shit getting resolved, like this coach just becomes more confident in his wrongdoing, knowing that no one is going to speak up. And even when people do speak up, which multiple girls have at this point, there is nothing that there is no punishment. Yes. There is no sort of
consequences.
Zero.
Because you weren't the only girl that got hurt with the weight training. No, several girls got really hurt.
There was a girl that couple trips to the ER. Yeah. Yes. And as all this is going down, I was one of 5 girls who spoke up because of the way that he was extremely inappropriate and like sexually harassing girls.
At this point. And one of them, just to be clear, I mean, you were all kind of on the same level, but one in particular,
such a great
had
athlete.
Been conditioned already. She was an amazing athlete, literally headed to the Olympics. I mean, our schools were already talking to her sophomore year. I mean, like we're talking
she had committed to like these huge
schools.
Yeah.
And she even spoke up about the weight training because she had worked with a trainer. She's like, this is super fucking dangerous. Like, yeah.
And she was training with the best of the best coaches. I would go as far as to say she was one of the best water polo athletes at the time.
Yes, easily.
So, again, during off season makes me say that whole scene happens. It is also during the off season that, and mind you, it's water polo. We're in these one-piece suits with the suit like up our ass half the time, and that's not even on purpose. Like you try swimming in a suit, it just naturally goes up there. It's not inappropriate.
Well, especially when you're wrestling someone under the water.
Yeah. And I remember standing right next to the snack bar as he comes up next to me and like puts his hand on my lower back and starts rubbing my back and proceeds to tell me like, you know what you have to do if you want to secure a varsity spot. And I'm like, oh, and I was just sat there like I had seen it goes, because I'm like, oh my gosh, don't react. Like you're gonna be the one to draw all this attention. It's not like and that's where I'd gaslight myself, being like, is this really that bad? Like I would see all the girls even talk about how they would go and hang out with. I'm like, fuck, am I just in my head? That happened a lot. I also want to make the note that as this stuff was happening, my parents were and I was documenting every single thing down to the timestamp, the date, like everything.
Yes.
We had receipts. I would have screenshots, like everything.
Yes.
He was also a walk-on coach, and this is really important to note because coaches, first of all, it is a school's responsibility to protect students and especially student athletes above anything else.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's harder when a coach is also a teacher, like they're much more involved in the school. This was not the case for him. He was a walk-on coach.
He could have been fired for being late 3 times.
Which he was notoriously late.
Uh-huh.
Again, messy, unorganized. But they did not owe him an explanation. They could have fired him and said, thank you so much. Like, bye. Good riddance.
Yeah, at this point it was hard. It was very difficult to understand what was going on and why there was no consequences.
Yeah.
Even for the stuff that happened. And this isn't even the bulk of it yet. Yeah. But like there was enough to where, we started to learn even about other players coming on the team. And we had a lot of questions because you were with the boys so long. So we knew the formalities of how that goes with recruiting from other schools and how they have to sit the bench and how that works. And for some reason, none of these rules were implemented or applied on the girls' team.
Which is very risky because if these girls would have gotten caught, it would have been their fault. Like they would not have been able to continue their water polo career. And that, aside from how he was just morally so wrong, and that's not even a strong enough word, he made so many CIF violations. So if nothing else, he was not following the rules of the sport and the high school sport
at all. Like I read that handbook, the blue book, cover to cover. I tabbed, highlighted. I mean, off the top of my head, it was like 38 violations, from lying about students' addresses to, I mean, the number of things was, and there was easy proof. The documentation actually was quite easy to put together.
Yeah.
And even showing the principal at the time, he completely disregarded this. And I said, here, if nothing else, there's 3 players on the boys' teams that haven't been allowed to play for the last year because of these exact rules.
Because they just transferred, yes.
So if they weren't going to listen to how his behavior was and those things, I thought this has to be it. How about just his ethical violations and technical violations? That has to yield some kind of results.
So as my parents kept taking these concerns to my principal and my athletic director, they pretty much were just getting like shooed away. Like, no, sorry, we're not going to do anything about it. That is when my parents decided to get a hold and reach out to the district's athletic director. So the boss of my high school's athletic director. November 9th, my parents met with the district athletic director and laid out every concern. Again, dates, time, like everything.
Screenshots. Because at this point, there was some cyberbullying that happened online where they had already come free. The girls, now again, the girls who basically had Stockholm syndrome because their infatuation with this coach and had grown. It was disturbing.
Turned on me. I went from being best friends, like hosting parties, sleepovers, even on school nights with these girls, to suddenly they fucking hate me because I am calling shit for how, like, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck.
So we talked to the athletic director at the district, and he's just doesn't even react. He's like, I know, I've heard lots of complaints. You're not the first parent. And so I was really shocked. I thought in that moment for a second, wow, we're going to get somewhere. Like, this is amazing. All the other families, 4 families came forward.
Yeah.
You know, at this point, like, there were 2, girls had made hospital visits from being injured.
Like, okay.
Yeah, they'd already seen the counselor at school because there was a lot of bullying that started to take place again at his direction. Mm-hmm. Not just by him, but again, this small group of girls that were involved with him.
It was at this point that the district athletic director told my parents, well, try again with your principal, try again with your athletic director. My parents are sitting there like, have you not picked up on a single word we just said? Like, clearly the fact that we have to even take it to you now is because our concerns haven't been met.
We've followed the proper channels and nothing.
So December 2016, at this point, we are like fresh into my sophomore season of water polo. Water polo is a winter sport. Like, it had just started. Things are just starting to pick up. And this is like where the ball gets rolling and how shit gets so much more intense. But the cyberbullying like picks up. These girls are creating Finstas for me as well as the 4 other girls who have spoken out and have shared their experience with this coach. And mind you, the one common thing that me and all these other girls had was like, I can't say their names, but we were all training at such a higher level when we weren't playing in season. Like, our club team and the coaches that we were playing with were training Olympic athletes. Like, that was all of our goals.
And so, you're all of you refused to get involved with him.
Yes.
That was a big piece because he thought he was head dick in charge, and he's like, I can have any one of these girls I want. Yeah. And so I think it became more like, how dare you say no to me?
That's what it was for sure. So the cyberbullying picks up. These girls are creating like personal Finsta accounts for each of us, posting horrible stuff, like pictures of us in the locker room, like damn near naked, saying just like stuff that I could not even now as a almost 24-year-old like comprehend or like what?
Well, shoving you in the shower, shoulder checking you in the hallway, like they're
horrible. And then they would also comment on from their main Instagram
because they're stupid.
Like, and I'm like, and then I would screenshot that, send it to my parents. They'd send it to the district, the athletic director. Nothing. Like, not even so much as, hey, you are getting like a 2-week suspension from playing. Like, this is unacceptable. Nothing. There were 0 consequences.
0. And I have to say, you're part of that high school program they're working with our local police. That was like this anti-bullying. That was their main agenda. And you had been selected. You can't just volunteer. You have to be nominated.
Yeah.
And you were nominated to be part of this
by
program.
Teachers and like faculty.
It was certain individuals. And so that was another moment where I said, take it to them. Let's see where they go from here. And they did their own investigation. And I want to get to specifics too, but they basically said, why don't you step down from your water polo team? Yes. And the way that I became so like desperate and like, I'm like, what is going on? Something is up. Like, how could they? That's like telling a battered wife not to piss off her husband.
And as a walk-on coach who had literally no other job than coaching, the fact that he was this protected was like the craziest part.
It was crazy. It was starting to get like beyond there was like you couldn't even comprehend at this point how this was continuing to play out.
So end of December, I am on winter break, and I spent like 2 nights at Hogue because I was extremely sick, to put it lightly. I like had fevers, I had hives, like no one knew what was going on. I had every test done to where the doctor sits down with me and is like, there is nothing that says or indicates that you are this sick. Out. And he just like starts talking to me and he's like, tell me what's happening in your own life. So of course I'm like sharing all this stuff that's happening with my water polo coach who's sexually harassing me, and the girls who are now ganging up against me and pushing me in the hallways and like walking into my classroom even and making these threats, and the school's doing nothing. And he's like, it is that. There is no other, like I had at this point never been treated for anything else.
No, and I remember he even turning to us and just explaining how serious this had become. For once this impacts you in this way, like the level of stress, like, and how it could get so much worse. And I remember even telling the doctor, like, I'm trying, I don't know what else to do. And you didn't want to give up. It wasn't that either, because you didn't want to feel like, I'm not going to let them take this from me.
And at this point, I felt like a responsibility to also stick up for the other girls going through this, where I'm like, fuck, like, I already spoke up. Like, if these girls and this coach already hates me, like, I literally have nothing else to lose. I get back to school after winter break, after being in the hospital, and at this point, I'm, like, probably going to school twice a week. Like, I'm just so, at this point, I'm not even sad. I just feel so numb. Like, I was so depressed.
Yeah. Well, and we'd found out that the other coach...
So
had left.
January 2nd, the assistant coach, who was also the JV coach, resigned. He resigned, and at this point, he put everything again in documentation, and he had talked to the principal, talked to the athletic director. He had legal representation. In the middle of our season, he left, and he like got on his soapbox and is like, he should not be around kids.
Yeah,
he should, like, everything he is doing aside from just breaking basic water polo rules, he is like a horrible human being
and basic HR rules. Yeah, he said because he ended up copying us on the email, and he stated, I was explicit in my explanation for why I quit.
Yeah.
And why I needed to protect myself in this situation.
Yeah.
And I was in shock. I remember seeing the like attorney's letters, and I was just like in shock. Like I could not believe. And I was impressed too, because no one else had chimed. So he was honestly, this must have been in the works while this was happening. And obviously he had to be careful. But I was just in shock. I was like, wow, that he really just came out with that.
And mind you, like, he had never, like, there were times during practice when he would speak up against this head coach and be like, hey, that's not okay. Or, like, the drastic schedule changes respond to that mass email and be like, hey, this isn't realistic for a lot of parents who are at work. Like, he did a great job at speaking up, but everyone has a breaking point.
Everyone has a breaking point. Well, and it was...
So
the situation
after that,
escalated so
the
much.
head coach is now in like an even more powerful position because the school does nothing, even with that coach.
Still.
So there was a girl who I was very close with that I knew had personal relationships with this coach. And as I'm speaking up and I'm like trying to draw as much attention to this head coach for what he is doing and how horrible and inappropriate it is, she fucking starts coming after me. Her mom starts coming after me. There was times when her mom would walk around the high school campus screaming my name, to where I would like text my mom and be like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what to do. At this point I wasn't even going to the principals because they weren't
doing anything.
They weren't doing. They would
think about it. I made this point like in, you know, we're living in a day and age where like you think of, you know, horrible, like someone coming on campus, you shut it down. So how this mom was able to literally, like in a movie, walk up and down the halls like, Riley, where are you at? Like with nobody escorting her, nobody stopping her. And the nature of this is she was one of the girls that was involved, and he had promised college dreams and all blah, like things, anything that the girls wanted to hear. And Riley posed this threat of, Riley's bullying, and Riley, like that's the craziest. They turned the narrative, like, and all she was trying to do was like separate.
And I'm literally getting Snapchat videos from other people in different classes of this mom walking the halls, like yelling, "Fucking nuts!" It is also nuts. During this time that I'm in MUN, and I I feel very confident in speaking if you haven't gathered that. Like, I've never shied down from a conversation. MUN Model United Nations, like, you're public speaking. And I honestly owe a lot of my ability to speak confidently in that program. And my sophomore year, I get up and go to present a speech. And I literally, at this point, I'm like fucking cracking, like, with everything that's going on. And I just literally stand up in front of my whole class and cry. And one of the girls who was also going through this was in that class. There were the boy water polo players who knew about, like, everyone was just like, no, it wasn't even like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing, like, she forgot. No, it was just like, everyone was just like, what is happening? My MUN teacher storms out of the room because like he's also aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
Storms down to the principal's office, starts yelling at them, and is like, you're fucking failing students. You, like, have a responsibility to protect our students, and you're doing nothing. Like, it's not even like a, oh, he said, she said. There's cold fucking proof.
Yeah, he wasn't even subtle. He was so, I mean, it was such an intense moment, but I felt, I mean, it was an awful moment for you, but I was so grateful that he just reacted in that way, because it just kind of continues to make me feel like, okay, so you get this is bad too, because we and didn't
he
have
was
that.
A coach too, so he, like,
he was just beside himself. He could not believe that this was going on this long and at this level.
And it was also during my sophomore year that my mom would sit on the street of where my high school was and just wait, because there was something that was happening almost every day. Like
there were things that would happen during this time. I don't know if you remember this, but, like, I got goosebumps just thinking about this. The school members of the school board said that they were looking into this, and they would show up at your high school, pull you out of class. They wouldn't tell
anyone. Yeah. And I'd be like, why am I here?
They would pull you in a room alone. And I had explicitly stated that they are never to do that without our presence. Yeah. They did this numerous times in an effort to get you to back down, maybe change your story or find inconsistencies.
And I remember being like, can I call my parents? And they're like, we just want to talk. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, it was awful.
Horrible. And I would, like, the
intimidation, like, tactics, they were very calculated.
For what? I have no idea. Still, that will be something I will never be able to comprehend, is how this coach was so protected, and how after multiple people, even on the guys' side, came out.
Yes, parents came out. And, like, that was part of it. I mean, there were incidents that were so bad. You know, I'd wait in the parking lot during practice, and there's one night in particular, like this, there are incidents like this, but just to give you an idea of how bad things would get. And these two moms from the boys team would run out to my car, and they're like, Anna, you've got to get in right now. And they're, like, screaming like that. It was chaos. So I come running into the pool deck, and they were holding you underwater, basically trying to beat the shit out of you. And when I'm looking for the coach, turns out he had gone in the team room. Now, I'm yelling, screaming, throwing balls at their head, and they come up like as if, oh, what? And, like, you're crying. Obviously, you're scratched to shit. And I don't know, when you see someone bleed in the water, even scratched, like, it looks a lot worse too. But it was a horribly traumatic moment. Yeah. But at the same time, and when I asked the moms what happened, they said it was very calculated, the way they organized, the way he gave them some kind of cue, and then he walked in and they waited till he was gone with the door closed. Horrible. And the whole thing was just orchestrated in this I mean, I hate to use the word diabolical because I think of cartoons, but it was awful. And it was why they would carry these things out on his behalf is still another question. Like, that's why I say Stockholm Syndrome. Literally. They would do anything, and they were infatuated.
And side note, I have no idea why, because it's also around this time that the seniors should be committing to college, and he had made promises, swearing like, I have so many connections, I will get you into any school you want to go to. Mind you, these girls start reaching out to the schools that he said that he would get them into.
No one's heard from them. They would
never hear from them. They would say, sorry, like, 1, you're not that good of an athlete. 2, we're not, like, taking, who's your coach? Like,
yeah, I don't even know this guy. And it was also during this time that I became so desperate that, I talked to my son's kindergarten teacher, because I was like, this is happening.
And she lives in our neighborhood.
Yeah, I need help. Like, I don't know what else to do. And she goes, I have a friend, he's been teaching at another college, and he's basically done this his whole life. He can give you some advice. So we call him on speakerphone, and I'm telling this very involved story. And I'm not even to the meat of it yet, but I've already explained how he's involved with some girls and how, the intimidation, XYZ. And he just cuts me off, and he goes, wait, this isn't so-and-so by any chance, is it? And jaw to the ground. I didn't even know how to respond.
Yeah.
And I said, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, it is. And he goes, there is no way he should be teaching high school girls. And when I say there is no way, he needs to be like 300 feet away from these girls. And so he then explains how he actually played or attempted to play for him at this college.
The head coach, my head coach had attempted to play for
at this other
coach,
college. Yeah. And that, dad offered to make a very sizable donation just to let him be part of the team. And that, this coach I was talking to was like, that's just not how I work, but thank you. If you want to donate to any other part of the school, you're more than welcome to, but you can't buy a place on my team. And even with that information that I shared with the district, and I said, he
also came
reach out to him.
Yeah.
And he'd be more than willing to share his information. We had another teacher who was also a coach at the other high school speak to the board.
And not just a coach, he was coaching Olympic swimmers.
Yeah, there were in previous, like he was very renowned, like coach for this. Yes. And he said, I will not even let my kids walk on the same pool deck as that man. He is disgusting. He doesn't belong. Like it's a danger to all of our children to have him near them.
So after all of this, there is still nothing. Not even so much as like, oh, like he's suspended from coaching. Nothing.
Because even during most investigations, they usually suspend someone, at least if nothing else, to say, hey, while this is being investigated, we're going to look into this. We're sorry. They pay him while he's, something. There's something. Yeah. Nothing.
So shortly after, the district has a meeting, and they host these meetings probably like every quarter.
I think so.
It's not that often, but it gives the public and those who are involved in the high schools an opportunity to voice their concerns to the board of the district, basically to help resolve everything. It's at this point that I also decide I am going to fucking speak at this board meeting like a 15-year-old. It's so hard like not to cry.
I know.
But I was like, I'm going to speak at this board meeting. So I go, and it's like standing room only. Like the coach who had resigned, who had a lawyer who was going against this coach, the other swim coach, like his college, like, I mean, everyone.
The boys team. I mean, it was standing
huge.
Like literally shoulder to shoulder. And I remember even thinking, wow, this is like, we didn't bargain for this also, because this is extremely intimidating. Like, this is a lot.
Yeah. And I remember I'm like waiting to go up to speak. And my parents were just like, you don't have to do this. Like, we could literally leave right now. Like, clearly, like, they knew nothing. I think at that point you guys had known nothing was going to happen. But I was like, fuck. Like, if they literally, with all of this support, all of this evidence, like, here I am just asking for help. If they do nothing with that, our school systems fail children on an everyday basis. It is not like, I feel like it's so often social media that's highlighted, or students to students. It's our fucking school system. Yeah. It's those that are in charge and those that we put in charge that are doing us a disservice.
Right. I mean, you look to them, the authority figures, to help and protect you. And like in this situation, I mean, they failed several of you.
Yes.
You were highlighted because you were willing to be.
Yeah. So I get up there and I speak, and like by the end I'm like crying, like sobbing, and everyone's is
crying.
Like, yeah,
like the moms, every mom, like it was so intense. It was so emotional.
Yeah.
It was insane, and it was very well delivered. But I really thought in that evening, there is no way that they won't do something. I mean, the way that even everyone erupted, like with applause, just in support of your. Yeah. What you shared was just, I was like, there's no way they're not going to listen to this is nothing but parents here.
Yeah. And even as I was sharing, I was like, they have to fucking listen to me. Like, they are being held accountable right now with such an audience. Like, and with so many people at this point who have spoken out, like, how could they not do something? And that was like a rhetorical question, because they were like, watch us not do anything.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, they didn't. And it got to the point where I was so drained. Like, I was like being bullied by a head coach, sexually harassed by a head coach. I was being bullied by the girls, and nothing was happening. And I got to the point where I was like, I fucking hate water polo. I never want to play this sport again. I never want to see a water polo ball. I never want to like be in the pool again. And I was just I was over it. I was like, how can I have been such a good, and like, I followed the rules and I did everything right and I was sticking up for my teammates. Like, it's so important to be part of a team and hold each other to the same level.
And you're highly regarded in the school otherwise. That's the thing. Even prior to this, you'd earned so much credibility.
I was getting awards from the city, like from Huntington Beach City and from the fire department for lifeguard. Like, I would have thought that it would have held weight too.
It should have.
And nothing. And it got to the point where I was like, I'm fucking done. I never want to play this sport again. I fucking hate this coach, like, for what he has done. And it's like, and that is why I always joke about Beckham's high school experience, because it's like I have the complete opposite.
Like the extreme opposite. I mean, 2 girls tried to take their own life.
Yeah.
There was, I mean, the girl that we spoke about that was so unbelievably
he was reaching
good.
out to like those college coaches and being like, do not take these players on. Yes. Do not take her on.
Luckily, the college she went to, that coach was like, yeah, you can go fuck yourself. I don't even know who you are. Don't, you know, but even she ended up, I found out later that she went to college and also stopped playing because the trauma was so intense that you can't undo that. Yeah. And you can't, because that association was so bad that and she's so good. It was like she was born in water. She was meant to do this as well. And it was, I remember her hearing that, and I was so devastated to hear that this.
She went to this huge, like,
D1, like, they had girls water polo had thrived.
The school is known in the smallest corners of the world.
I was so devastated to hear, like, how it still impacts and here's the thing, as he went on, he knew he was, for whatever, there's obviously a lot more that made him untouchable that we'll never know.
Yeah.
And even when I say that, you know, this was later, ran into him at the beach, and he was with 2 young girls, and I used to go run every day, and he comes right up to me, and he goes, "You're never going to stop me," and sorry, I'm like literally getting flustered. He's like, "They're never going to catch me." And have you ever been like, so, like, I was shaking, crying. I was so angry. Like, I could not, I was like screaming. And that confidence like that smirk and that confidence of like, he's well aware that
he's doing
what he's doing is wrong, and he just doesn't care. And that's like, they gave him so much permission, and what this school did was give him permission to hurt so many other girls.
Yeah.
In a way that will affect them their whole life.
I just want to end by saying, like, when it comes to sports, they are not that deep. Like, I wish I would have just honestly quit. Like, and that's not even fair to me, because it's like, why do I have to quit? But it's like, not as a parent, but parents should, not that you guys pushed it, but like, sports are not that. I wish I wasn't practicing all the time, and maybe this could have been avoided, or maybe it couldn't have, because the truth is, at the end of the day, it's his fault. It's not my fault even for speaking up.
No.
And like we said in the previous episode, kids are, especially high school girls, are so impressionable, and just be aware of who they are surrounding themselves with, whether it's their friends, especially
and say something.
Coaches.
That was one thing that really got to me too, because there were other parents that were also aware and wouldn't speak up.
Yeah.
Remember your good friend's mom? And every time I asked her to, like, she would see things that I wouldn't sometimes, and I would ask her, please share this.
Yeah.
You know?
And she's like, I don't want to get involved.
I don't want to get involved. And at the cost of what? Yeah. I mean, you're damaging these girls. And it's just to come to understand how frequently this happens and it goes unaddressed is also what has become so disturbing for me. And that's I can't reconcile with that. I'll be honest.
Listener, this episode was very heavy to even talk about, and I also recommend that you go watch Call Her Alex Cooper's documentary. And if you have even experienced something like this, like, use any sort of platform you have to talk about it, or even just like within your community and your friendships. Like, don't harbor any of that resentment or keep that to yourself, because it's not your shame to carry. And that's something that, like, I have to even remind myself with, or like, it's never exhausting to talk about. No. Like, if you have to talk about it 100 times, talk about it 100 times.
Because you never know. It could be that, like, 101st time that get someone's attention who also needs help. And so that's the other part. I think that's where social media can be so valuable, because you have so many different ways that you can help share, talk about what happened to you, or bring light to it, or help someone else. And that part I love.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the I Did First podcast. I'm Riley.
I'm Anna.
And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.